Alright, hey everyone. This is going to be an overview of Mistwalkers. This is my fan-made expansion for Mistfall, Chronicles of Frost. So these are my print and play copies. I brought this out just in case we want to look at some components of the original Chronicles of Frost to see how they gel. I'm not sure exactly if I'll talk through all that, but this is an expansion that offers... Here, I'll take a chance and flip my box over here. 3 new playable heroes with their custom decks. These were heroes that I wanted to see in the game, but they weren't in the game, so I created them. 13 new quests between exploration and search quests. And then I think the most exciting part of the expansion is the Brash Villains module. So this is a different form of the Brash Hero module that allows you to... It changes the win condition from outscoring the Brash Hero to having to actually defeat the Brash Villain. And there's quite a bit that goes into that module. One of them being villain quests specific to the villain side of things, and then a handful of other things. So I think we'll just start going through the box, and I'll talk through the stuff that's in there. Hopefully my camera focuses for us. Come on, camera. There we go. The first thing I include that I'll talk through real quick is just some 3 value wound tokens, because the villains end up taking a little more damage, and it can get annoying to drop the single wound tokens on them. The file includes some standees. These match what some I found on Board Game Geek for the original Mistfall Chronicles of Frost, so the formatting is the same. I will show you which characters are in there. So we've got Malachi, sorry I bumped my camera there, Durgan, and Arden. And they each have their own decks over here and their own hero card. Durgan, his thing is he likes items. He can draft items or buy items from the market a little more cheaply, and he gets some bonuses, like he has an attack card here that boosts the attack based on how many items he has. He also has 1 weapon block, and I tried to base it on their on the big Mistfall's sort of thematic character traits, where he can do the weapon block to block some damage. Arden, as you might expect, is our ranged character of the 3. That's going to be upside down. He has some interesting abilities. He's good at scouting. He can essentially scout enemies with this ability. And then this is the one that's really interesting to me, where he can do like a fatal wound on an enemy, and it saves him some trouble, but it delays it a round, and other players could come swoop up that enemy if they wanted. And then, yeah, I haven't talked through Malachi yet. He is sort of a mix of... He has 1 healing ability here, but he can swap around enemies, do some enemy manipulation, and this is the one that's really interesting, I think. So he has 2 of these Shadow Trick cards, and if you keep an enemy token that you've defeated in your hero area, you can use it to basically force it to attack other enemies. Put him back on bottom, keep that a little organized. Okay, and then this is how the expansion started. I just wanted more quests. So here's your exploration quests, and then your search quests. I tried to, these got a little bit long on the narrative, but I wanted to try to create some interesting stories. I kind of pushed the mechanics as far as I could. And you'll see what I mean when you see kind of the unique things that I tried to do with the quests and the different sort of acts within the quest. And then the final piece here is, I'll show you the villain tokens. The 4 villains that come in the base game with the villains module are actually your Brash villains in this game. So here's all the stuff for the Brash villains module. First, you get a lair location. Hope my camera can focus here. It's not doing that good. Come on. So the lair location is where villains retreat to after every single quest that they complete. And villains get a boost when they're here. And then if you as a hero end here, you actually have to do that negative rest ability. So it's not good to end there. This starts out the game just south of the Haven location. I made a reference card for the Brash Villains AI. It's actually really similar to the Brash Hero, which I made myself a reference card for that too. That's actually in the files as well. I kept forgetting and having to flip through the rulebook. So the Brash Villains, we'll look at Karnas here. There's a few things going on. They have just a general global ability. He just gives a boost to the undead. And then there's kind of two stages to the game. The main game and then the final showdown is the last part of the game. And here's the villain stats for the final showdown. So you have to deal 10 damage to them, or devote 10 attack to him. And then every round in the final showdown, he inflicts 2 wounds on you automatically. The difference with the final showdown, unlike other combats in the game, is it can go multiple rounds. And so it might take you 2 to 3 rounds to beat him, and you're taking 2 wounds each time. So in the final showdown, if your character ever has to take more than 6 wounds total, then the game is over, and you can't leave the final showdown once you've entered it. And the final showdown, it's the only way to win the game. That's your win condition, is you have to beat the enemy. A couple other things. Each villain has a combination of either an item or an ally, or 2 of each, so they each have 2 of those. And he comes with the Fierce Axe and the Bear Shield. And these start the game out in their villain area, and they have some nasty effects. So, whoops, I'm sorry, bumped my camera. His axe inflicts 1 wound on heroes when they move into a location adjacent to Karnas. So it's kind of a stay away type of ability. And then the Bear Shield, basically all that says is it comes back into play every time you skirmish with him, or at the start of every showdown. And all that does is, for villain items and villain allies, here's the criteria to defeat them. And so you have to spend 1 move and 1 attack to destroy this Fierce Axe and take it out of the game. And same goes for the Bear Shield. You have to just spend 1 attack to take it out of the game. Except this ability says it comes back into play. You can do like 5 attack to it to take it out permanently. Okay, so then the other thing about villains is they're actually going to be in a standee, moving around the board trying to complete their quests, sort of like the Brash Hero. But if you run into them, if you end up on the same space as them, either if you move into that space or if they move into that space, you're forced to skirmish with them. And here's your skirmish chart. And they're going to deal damage to you in the skirmish based on how much attack you dealt to them. So anything, if you deal 1 or 0 damage to him, he's going to give you 3 wounds. If you do 2 to 3 damage to him, he's going to only give you 1 wound. And if you do, or I'm sorry, I think I did that backwards. If you do 1 or 0, 1 to 2 damage, then he would end up doing just the 3 damage. If you do 3 or above, it's just the 1 attack to you. And then if you reach 5, then he doesn't actually hit you back at all. So this skirmish chart just tells you how much attack you have to devote to them and how many wounds you have to take in return based on how much you did. So skirmishes aren't a big deal, other than you could end up taking some wounds from them, and it slows you down that way. So that doesn't seem so bad until I talk about the next thing that I'll talk about, is this icon in the middle. That is for villains get to recruit enemies. So unlike the Brash Hero, who's trying to retire enemy tokens to gain victory points, villains don't care about victory points. They like getting enemies though, because if they end up on a space with an enemy of their desired faction, so he's undead, if he ends up on a space with an undead enemy token, he gets to what's called recruit it, and it goes into his villain area, and it acts as a guardian. So you would have to defeat that enemy before you can attack the villain himself. And then if it's an off faction, so if this was, what are the other two, Brigand or Beast, if he recruits a Brigand or a Beast enemy, they actually go face down in his villain area, and all they do is, they're called minions, and minions just increase the villain's HP by 1. So let's say he recruited, I don't know, 2 Brigand enemies over the course of the game. He would have 12 HP that you'd have to beat in the final showdown. You can go get their guardians, though, during a skirmish. So if he has like 3 or 4 undead guardians sitting in his villain area, and you're nervous about trying to take on all of that in the final showdown, you can go skirmish with him and try to defeat those guardians in a skirmish, still taking damage as you need to from the villain. I'll just show you the other villains. Ralphers, however you say that, he has this flight ability, so you have to spend move to attack him. And he comes with a cut purse and the Lore Master's amulet. This swaps the Haven location, his amulet, with whatever quest he just completed. So he's changing the map. And then the cut purse steals your items during the showdown. But you can go defeat villain allies and items just like you can defeat their guardians in a skirmish ahead of time. So you might want to do that with her. Whoops. Sorry, I keep bumping my camera. Gardock is fairly interesting. He just comes with 2 big bodyguards, and they cancel damage that you deal against him. And then if all of a sudden he has no bodyguards, then he recruits some guardians. So you may or may not want to switch your strategy up with him. And then Sikra comes with, so she has some healing, some self-healing, and she comes with a Blackwood fighter that defends her and attacks whenever she attacks. And then she has this Mace of Reckoning, which during the game, if you're moving around, Brigand enemies kind of get sucked into your location, and you're forced to fight them. So you have to be a little bit thoughtful about where you're going. And then here's the villain quest. This would be the last thing to talk through, is the villain quest. So these are just one single chapter quests. I think normal to easy-ish mode is give the villain 4 quests to complete, and that's your timer on the game as well. So if the villain completes all of their quests, you have 1 more turn as the hero to enter the showdown, or they automatically win. So you're on that timer as well. These roughly, as best as I could, correspond to the hero quests. So like, there's the one quest about the ambushed caravan, and here's the villain side of the story. They go to this area and they ambush the caravan, and then they're recruiting cards from the market, like the Brash Hero, to keep that a little bit dynamic, keep a fresh market. But they're also getting a reward. So the villain reward is usually something nasty for you or something good for them. And every time they complete a quest, you retire it, and then they go back to the lair and they start there. These quests are split into 4, like when you're setting up, you split them into 4 stacks based on the number and the letter. There's 1 and 2, and there's A and B. And this, the 1s are closer to the lair, and the 2s are further away from the lair. And sometimes the 2s have a little bit better reward, sometimes not. And the A and B is just, these are split into hemispheres so that they're not just working one portion of the map or another. And so you'll typically grab a 1A, a 1B, a 2A, and a 2B, and you'll stack those up. If you want an easier game, you give them an extra quest to give yourself more time. If you want a harder game, then you set them up with, say, 3 quests instead of 4 to make that timer a little bit less manageable. So yeah, so that's Mistwalkers. It's, I think, 94 cards in total, some standees, and some tokens if you wish to use those. But this should be up on Board Game Geek soon, and I just have to do a little bit more playtesting. There might be a little bit of changes. I need to finish up the rulebook here, but that should give you an idea of what's going on. Hopefully I'll make some more videos or or give you some more content so you get a better idea of how it plays when I get that far. But thanks for watching.